Hey, Captain Steve, welcome to the show. Nice to have you all with us.
And I'm Bill, and I'm on the water. How you doing, Steve?
Hey, having a great day. And this is the first episode of our new show, The Boaters List. So we will take all of your questions and answer them for you because we've got, gosh, what do we have? Maybe a million years experience between the two of us, Bill?
I
So
think so. I'm
uh,
not giving away our age, but hey,
yeah,
we've been on the water for a while, right?
it's a lot. It's a lot. So, send us those questions. Biggest one we got that we thought we would start the show off with is boat buying 101. How do I buy a
Right,
boat? Where do I buy a boat? What do I do to buy a
right.
boat? First of
Yeah,
all, friends don't let friends buy boats. I suppose that's
that's right.
you
The
don't need
best
a boat.
boat
You
is
need
your
a
friend's
friend with a
boat.
boat.
Yes, 100%.
Um,
So let's talk about lists, Steve. So we got to list a few things with boat buying, correct?
yeah, we do actually. Item number one on our list is where are you going to buy a boat from?
Right.
And well, any boat that you see out there, whether it's new, used, bought, sold, whatever it is, it started at a dealership. So
That's right.
why don't we start with a dealership? The pros and cons of going to a dealership. Um,
Yeah.
First, I mean, they're anxious to make a deal at a dealership because they want to get that boat off the floor and off of floor plan. Um, which brings up the big question: what
What
is
is a
floor
floor pan?
plan? What is the floor plan? That's pretty much the four-letter word in the boating industry.
That's right.
Yeah, when a dealer gets a boat from the manufacturer, it is on a floor plan, and what that means is they have it payment free, interest free for like 6 months, and then once 6 months kicks in, then they have to start paying for that boat. So they want to get that boat out of there and off the floor, especially as they get closer and closer to that 6 months and the floor plan really starts kicking in. So if you buy a boat that they just got yesterday, it's probably going to be expensive, and wheeling and dealing isn't going to be the easiest thing to do. But once it gets closer to
Yeah.
the end of that grace period, that's when the
And
deals come out.
and in the last 9 months, a lot has changed because past COVID, there was a wait for boats. There wasn't a whole lot in the showrooms to begin with, and now I think those lots are filling up pretty good, and you might be able to get a deal.
Yeah, COVID was a good time to be a boat dealer, wasn't it?
Yes, it was 100
Those guys
percent.
were eating steak through that whole period.
That's
you know?
it. Yeah.
Now, I don't know, maybe not so much. Um,
Yes.
but come prepared with how much you want to spend. That's a big thing is staying within your budget. If you go to a dealership, um, it's easy to find out what the value of a boat is. I mean, you can go
Right.
to anywhere online and get an idea of what it's going to cost you. Make sure you stay within that budget. Especially if the boat is brand new and just got to the dealership, it might be a little more expensive and there's maybe a little room to talk them down, maybe not. But be prepared with your budget in mind and how much you want to spend. That's a big thing, you know.
Absolutely. And
Yeah, because
no, the
owning's
questions.
expensive anyway.
It is very expensive proposition, right? Would you say that it's on average about 20% a year? Maybe the cost of boats. Not. It's a fair number, huh?
That is a fair number for the average boat, not
For
so
the
much for the
average boat.
yachts, but
Yeah.
for the average Joe boat recreational boater.
Right.
Yeah,
That's it.
20% is a good one. Um,
Yeah.
but I say be prepared for how much you want to spend because you're going to want more than you can afford. I
Always.
guarantee it. I absolutely guarantee it. Uh, yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah,
pretty much of a
and
given.
but you can also have your financing like anything else, like you would for a car. Have it set up before you go in. Gives you a little more knowledge, a little more security going into that situation as well.
Yeah, I think maybe the good thing, I mean, what my friends do is make sure they bring the wife, and that usually
Yeah,
keeps them in check for how much they can
that's it.
spend, you know?
100%. We know who signs the check at the end of the day, then, right?
Exactly, exactly. So, I mean, the dealers know that if you show up alone and you've got
Right.
a wedding ring on, they're not going to make a deal then today. It's going to be,
Right.
well, let me go check with the wife. Let me see.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
It's
Yes.
not going to happen right away. So they'll put limited amount of time in you if there's somebody that's coming in right next to you. That's a couple. Um,
Right.
but and they will absolutely 100% show you the next model up from what you want to buy,
That's right.
because it's so easy to say here's what you're looking at. Oh, if you go to this model here, look what you get now, and it's a little
It's
more
only a few
tricked
hundred
out.
dollars more.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so yeah, be prepared. with how much you want to spend and try to stick with that budget. Um, and along those lines, I suppose, is don't buy a yacht if you've only got a dock for a bow rider. Um,
Right.
that's the thing that a lot of people get into is, especially with catamarans, Bill. Catamarans have such a
Yes.
huge beam on them. And if you're at a slip, where you're backing into the slip, you're going to have to get two of them.
There's not too many slips available for those in most marinas
Yeah,
for a catamaran, and
you're
they're
either going to be buying two
premium
slips
price.
or going out on the T head way at the end.
Right.
Because there's, a 20-foot wide boat. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
it's working because, catamarans are the rage nowadays. There are more and more of them. And
Yes.
I'm a big cat fan. I love the
too.
handling of a catamaran. I love the way they feel, and I love the roominess inside. You're not going to get the roominess in a
Yep.
monohull that you will get in a catamaran. So there's a big plus going
Especially
on there. But
up in the waters where you are, it's I could see where that's really advantageous. And that
always choppy here.
you know.
Always choppy here. And
Mhm.
yeah, they just slice through the water so much nicer.
Yeah.
Which is why, all your high-speed ferries that I run
Yeah.
those in the summertime, and they're all cats, and there's a good reason
Right.
for that. They handle really well.
And
But
they're
that's
efficient.
another show.
Yeah.
Handling characteristics, what your favorite boats are, things along those lines. Um, let's talk about financing. You touched on
Yes.
that a little while ago.
Yeah, I think financing. I'm the type of person I kind of like to have my ducks in a row. I'm not opposed to listen to the dealer options on financing at all. A lot of times there are incentives and they involve financing. So, but at the same time, I belong to a credit union or whatever, which I typically like to see if I can try to use. I get favorable rates there, and I like to know where I'm at before I go into any showroom, and especially for a boat, I think.
No,
And
that's an
then,
interesting perspective because I'm on the side of the fence where financing through the dealer may not be your best deal because they've got somebody that they work with. They get a kickback from that.
yeah.
Oh, excuse me, a percentage back.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
and it may not be the best deal. But of course, it depends on your credit rating. I'm thinking that I would rather go to my bank and talk to them first and make a deal,
Yeah.
especially one that I've got my home loan on, my car
Right.
loan, things like that. They will be more than
100%.
happy to make a deal with you for taking on another loan, especially if you're a good credit risk for them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just see them first before you walk into the dealership so you know what you're dealing with there on their end, right?
Right, right.
With your own bank.
Yeah. And you may not even need to go to your bank if you've got a home equity that you can tap into.
Yes.
And you can just write a check that automatically activates the home equity loan.
Yes.
But again, check the rates on that because those are probably going to be higher than a regular
Right.
boat loan.
But dealerships take cash too.
They do take cash. Yeah, cash is king. Let's not forget that. Especially in the South Florida area. Why is that, I wonder?
Yeah. Everybody's got a lot of movers and shakers down here.
Yeah.
Do you
What
know
are
what
they
I mean?
moving and shaking down there?
They're moving and shaking their tax portfolio around. So their accountant says, buy something.
Yeah. And another thing to keep in mind with a dealership is what's the warranty?
Yes.
Are they standing behind it? Is the manufacturer standing behind it? Is it a combination of the two? A lot of times, the components in the boat, your Simrad displays, your Garmin displays, Raymarine, they're all warranting their own product.
Right.
So is Volvo Penta, Merc Cruiser, so check what the warranty is
Right.
to see what you're going to be paying, a little further down the road. That's always a good thing.
Absolutely.
But, I was selling boats way back when, Bill. I don't know if you knew this. This was like a long time ago. I was selling boats and I found out that I do not have the temperament for sales. I just don't. I love doing the boat reviews. I love telling people about the boats, but trying to make that sale was just, it sucks. It really does. I don't envy those guys outside of COVID anyway, when they, when there was a
throwing
gravy
money at
days,
them
but
then.
yeah, it was just awful. You work somebody and, try to make a deal and then they give you well, let me check with my wife or let me think about it.
Yes.
That's the favorite. And then they come back in and buy it on your day off.
Right.
And now you got to share your commission with somebody else, which is, I just don't have the temperament for that. So if you're going to buy from a dealer, stick with your salesperson and be nice to that guy and work with him or her, I should say. But don't stray between multiples, because that just messes up the whole
Yes.
apple cart, and it's not fair.
And understand the service team, because you're buying service, because you're going to have to go back in the beginning. They're going to know how to use B. You're going to take it back for its initial service and break-in period and past that. And that's a big part of any dealership, is you're buying that team. So you got to make sure that you have the right people with that.
Exactly. And if you're going to buy a boat from a dealership, make sure it's a local dealership, so
Yes.
that dealership can service the
Yes.
boat. And that's how they want your business for service as well. Because especially if it's under warranty, they get money for the service from the manufacturer.
Right.
So, I mean, just like your car,
Yeah.
they want to be, we'll sell you an extended warranty too.
Right. Right.
Yeah, that's a whole nother
Right.
apple cart right there. So
Steve, when we're in a dealership, there's pretty much two types of dealerships out there now. I think there's some that have fixed pricing. Some brands have fixed pricing, right? Internet price, we'll call them.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then some dealerships don't. And you really have to work to create the best deal for yourself. Actually, if you're trading in a boat, you have to work a great deal for yourself, even with a fixed priced dealership, so to speak.
So I think that's the dealership aspect. I think we kicked that horse to death. You think? Yeah. Okay. So let's move on to a boat show.
Who doesn't like a boat show?
Who does not love a boat show? I mean, that's the place to go shopping right there. I mean, a dealership will only have a few brands, so you need to be, into that brand that they're selling. But you go to a boat show, they're all there.
That's fantastic.
They're all there. And
every model.
That's the time to wheel and deal.
Absolutely.
That's the time to wheel and deal, because there's a lot of incentives coming from the manufacturers.
Right.
They've got boat show incentives for these people to move these boats, and the dealer doesn't want to bring the boat back from the boat show. They want to get it out of there. They may, put in things like storage. If you buy the boat today, we'll include storage for the next 6 months, and especially handy in these northern latitudes where I am, because you're not going to use it for months. But yeah, once they make that deal, that's when they're willing to make deals to get that closed.
Yeah.
And the manufacturers have a lot of incentives to make that happen.
Absolutely.
A lot of incentives.
And a lot of the boat shows, manufacturers' reps will be there, very knowledgeable characters to help you out as well.
And that's where you can really make friends with these manufacturers. I mean, some of them, it's a small company rather than a big conglomerate, and you become literally part of the family.
Right.
And that's kind of cool.
Right.
And even with some of the bigger ones, you still become a good friend of the company.
Yeah.
You'll see them years later and they'll, hey, Steve, how's it going?
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. That's kind of cool when you can actually meet
Yes.
the builder. Another thing you can do too is go to the factory when your boat's being built and actually see it happen and do a little factory tour. And that's kind of neat. See the people that are building your boat. If it's one that's, on a wait list, your boat's going to be built in 6 months. Well, go see it being built. That's
100%.
kind of a neat thing to do. And a lot of times the manufacturer will pay for that trip.
So when there's two different types of shows, really. There's a local show, dealer show, and then there's the national shows, which are kind of a different kind of a beast. You get an armband or a sticker, and you get focused to your dealer. Those are kind of a different animal, though, aren't they?
They really are. They really are. I kind of like them both. I mean, the international shows, to Fort Lauderdale, the Miami, the West Palm, that kind of thing, Newport. Those are bigger shows, and there's a lot more going on there. But the local shows, those are your local dealers. Those are the local people to stick with. And you can still shop around, but you're shopping locally. Right. And that's kind of a cool thing, too.
Yeah. They don't want to bring the boat
That's
back.
kind of cool. Yeah. Now, if you are going to buy a boat at a boat show, it may be that boat that you're on and physically touching right there. And if that's the case, I would recommend that you take pictures all over that boat. If you close a deal on that and they say this is your boat and you're good to go and they put the sold sign on it, there's still going to be thousands and thousands of people walking on that boat. Yeah. And that can take its toll on a boat.
Right.
Especially when there's kids coming aboard. And, they've got that pen or pencil in their pocket, or
Right.
something like that. People can just get very messy on a boat. Spill a drink
Right.
that they weren't supposed to bring on board and didn't get caught before they went up the steps. Take pictures of the boat. Make sure it's not getting damaged after the fact.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a big difference between buying that boat and one just like it.
You are absolutely
Big
right.
difference. So, yeah.
And I think the other thing we should touch on is when you buy a boat, very, technologically complex item. You know what I mean? It's not built by robots like a car, it's built by humans. So occasionally, you may have to bring the boat back for something to be tightened or a bit of an adjustment. It's not unusual in our space, we'll say, because these are craftsmen building them, and it's just be aware when you buy a new boat. Sometimes it just needs a little bit of adjustment, don't you think?
Good point. Very good point. So let's see, we got dealers, we got boat shows. We okay on boat shows? You have anything to add to that anymore?
No.
No. So now let's talk about buying aftermarket.
Yeah.
You answered that ad on Craigslist, or you saw an
Facebook
ad in
Marketplace.
yeah, Facebook Marketplace is a good one. What is the downside? What is the upside to that?
Yeah.
Well, the upside, I mean, you could probably get a good deal. This guy doesn't want to trade his boat in because he wants to get a better deal than the dealer would give him, because the dealer's got to mark it up.
Right.
So he's not going to give you top dollar. So selling it outright to somebody on your own, just like your house, just like your car, it's the same deal. Same deal. So you're going to pay a little more, maybe a little more room, wiggle room to make yourself a good deal. But you probably just bought a boat without a warranty.
Yeah.
Probably, unless it's a fairly new boat and the warranty is transferable.
True.
Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. That depends on the manufacturer. So that's something you might want to check in. Biggest piece of advice that I can give to somebody buying a boat on the private market is to get a survey. Get that survey done. Professional survey.
Yes.
You are not qualified. I am not qualified to go look at a boat and say, yep, this is perfect. I'm taking it. And if I'm not qualified, I say it's a pretty good bet you're not qualified.
Absolutely.
Whoever you are watching this right now.
They have the equipment to dial in the engine alone to see. They can tell you how many hours it was run at idle versus, at speed. Everything about that engine, the engine especially.
Right. Yeah. And the little hidden details are just, oh my goodness. Look at this little gasket here. See how it's starting to dry out? I never would have caught that. Yeah. Look at the corrosion on this one terminal here, way underneath the bilge, all the way in the back. Come on. Yeah. I mean, stuff you would never find. A little bit of delamination or a crack that you just would not have noticed. I mean, they're scrutinizing that thing to the nth degree. It's money well spent.
Yeah.
Money well spent.
Moisture. Right? Oh. It's like the number one. Let them tap that boat all day long. I love the moisture reader meters. They're great. But I love to see old school tapping.
Yeah. And if you've got a boat that was just repainted and it looks beautiful, why was it just repainted?
Yes.
What are the sins that's covering up?
Yes.
Yeah. So get a survey. Yeah. You just don't know if it's a trusted person.
Right.
And why is the boat for sale? Right. I mean, you're going to hear the same question, or rather the same answer come up over and over again. I just don't get to use it as much anymore. Yeah. Or I want to get something bigger. Right. That's the good one. So nothing wrong with this. I love this boat, but I need something bigger.
Says every boater.
Yeah. Every boater will say that.
Yeah.
So,
and use a surveyor, ask around, find somebody that you can trust, because there's a wider range out there locally. Get to know your surveyor, because you'll 5 years down the road you might use them again.
Your marinas will always have a surveyor that they can hand you a number for.
Yes,
they're out there. They're definitely out there, and you could probably find something on Google too. Right. But yeah, there's lots of them. Get some feedback about that surveyor.
Yes.
You don't want just Joe Boater who says, oh, I know about boats, I'm going to start doing surveys.
Yeah.
Doesn't work like that.
Every
There's a
boat.
certification process that they go through. There's a licensing process that they go through. They know what they're doing.
Absolutely.
Those certified
There's
guys.
a lot to look for.
Yeah,
There is.
there absolutely is. And if you go to this guy and, he's selling the boat and you say, oh, I don't know, let me think about it. And he says, well, I got 3 other people that want to buy this boat. So you need to decide now.
Pass.
That's a red flag.
Pass.
I'd run away for that. Yeah,
absolutely.
That's not the time to make a high pressure sale.
You don't want to be pressured into anything in life, especially a boat.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's a big expense. It's a big expense. If this guy says you need to buy it now,
Right.
No, I don't.
Absolutely.
No, I don't.
There's so many systems, and the bigger the boat, the more complex the systems. Yeah, definitely a lot going on.
Yeah. So I think the last ingredient for buying a boat is factory direct.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some factories that sell direct to the buyer.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a dealership network.
Right.
That's kind of a cool scenario,
Yes.
actually. You can get a much better deal on the boat because they're not paying to support a floor plan. They're not paying to support the dealers. They're not, giving dealer incentives. They can give the incentive on their own. They're the ones that touched the boat, that built the boat, that know the boat. Now you're going to be a part of the family. That's what I was talking
Correct.
about before. These are the people that are principals of the company
Right.
that you're dealing with. That's pretty cool.
And they're going to be
That's pretty
semi-custom, right? You're going to get the boat you want.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's not just, let's change the upholstery. Let's
Right.
change the color. I mean, we're talking,
Right.
I want this cabin made into an office. I want, instead of just one berth, I want
Yeah.
bunks put in. I mean, you can get really specific with how you want to customize your boat.
Absolutely.
But factory direct's kind of a cool thing,
Yes.
especially if you're going with a larger boat like a trawler or something along
Yes.
those lines.
Yeah.
Then you can get some pretty good things going on with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of a boat buying 101 in a nutshell.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's a lot to, go on. Number one question though should be from your dealer is, what should they ask you? What's the number? Where do you boat? Right.
Where do you boat? Yep.
Because where you
And
boat.
number 2,
yeah.
Yeah, number 2 would be, what kind of boating you're going to
Yes, 100%.
do. Are you a day boat? Are you just going to go to this restaurant? Are you going to go to the Bahamas? Are you taking it through the inside path? What kind of
Offshore,
boating are you going to do?
intercoastal, dock and dine, or are you beaching it? All these questions. Yeah. All good questions.
Know what you want and know how much you want to spend going into this.
Absolutely. And
So that's our first show on this one, Boat Buying 101. We've got our little tips going on there. So hopefully it was helpful for you. Make sure you hit like and subscribe because we've got a lot more shows coming. We've got a lot of ideas. And if you have any questions, make sure you put them in the comments below. Send them in and we'll put them into list form and answer them all for you with our million years of experience between the two of us.
We're looking for show suggestions as well.
Yeah, bring it on. Bring it on. We're having some fun with it. So thanks for tuning in. It was great having you all watch us. And hopefully we've got a lot more coming that you'll enjoy. And also need to do a shout out to our sponsor, Boat Gear USA. We've got a link right down at the bottom. If you click on that and put in Captain Steve for the code, you'll get a discount on some select features and items in there. So make sure you check that out.
Make sure you check out Captain Steve's channel, Captain Steve's Boat Test.
And also make sure that you check out Bill on the Water on YouTube. We're going to have great stuff for you. So make sure you sign up on both of them, subscribe, and like.
See you next time.
See you on the water.